Howdy healers, welcome to Zero to KSM Hero, a series where I'll be attempting the Keystone Master Challenge in patch 9.1.5 on a brand new healer. The rules are simple. For the Alliance, least favored healer, least popular covenant, only moderate help from main character allowed, no linking Raider IO to main character, hugging only, and finally the challenge must be finished before posting the first video to avoid any external help or assistance, and of course for the sake of integrity. Hello everyone and welcome in again. Can you believe that we're at episode 10 already? Feels like we just got started. Alright, so today we are back to the grindstone again. Or I should say nose to the grindstone, I guess. We're actually going to try our own key, which is a Plaguefall 8. You saw the hesitation there, like, I don't know if I really want to do this. Actually, like, procrastinated my brains out here. I don't know what I was doing, but I was just sitting at the stone AFK for like 7 minutes. Probably taking care of something in real life, but it looked like I was just putting off having to queue for my own key. Or like I was scared or something. I don't know. But here I am, double checking the dungeon difficulty because I think the first time I did it, I forgot to change it. I love that the dungeon difficulty is like never correct. At least it feels that way. And it looks like it's not super late or super early in the morning or anything. So, it's a little surprising that nobody's queuing up. But that's the way of it sometimes. You do have to be patient. I'll say that. Stupid Windows. Probably Adobe Cloud reminding me of their software updates or whatever. I got desperate, okay? I just invited the first person I saw. Well, their score wasn't bad or anything, so it's like, come on. Join me for my 8 key. I think now that I've done the grind or whatever, I have a much better idea of what to expect from other people, even though the way that eye levels keep changing from one patch to another, and how they started changing gear from dungeons and what drops there, like it's now a little bit more confusing, but like considering that normals drop 210 now in patch 9.2, feels a little silly to like not even have that when you do like low mythic keys, but I don't know. I don't know what the meta is now or whatever, what the standard is for 9.2. I haven't even done a single mythic key yet. I know, and it's been like a week, but you know, technically I am more of a farmer in the game than a a farmer and an ultaholic than I am a Mythic Plus player. I don't normally do a lot of Mythic Plus. I think I'll be doing a little bit more in general because Mythic Plus can drop plus speed gear. And as a person addicted to having characters that can go really fast, I do like plus speed gear. Alright, so we have our team here. I've assembled them. I was not that picky, but you could see that like nobody was queuing, so I decided not to be too picky for an 8. Like, if we fail in an 8, I guess we didn't deserve it anyway, so. I did try to ensure that I was the weakest link, however, so I think we'll be okay. Also, Guardian Druids are awesome. So we do like to see our friend here pie in a box. Pie in da box, my bad. Yeah. He's got an interesting name. Sometimes I see people in the game and I'm like, how did you even come up with the name? Like, how did you come up with that name? I've seen some clever names. I've seen some very weird names. I ran into some people last night that had really odd names. I'm trying to remember what they were. It was in Time Walking. Again, it was, I don't remember, but I ran into this shaman with this weirdest name, and I'm like, where did you come up with that? It was like dumpster liquid or something like that, and I was like, why? I mean, just from a personal standpoint, like, I'm trying to imagine being on the character select screen, and I'm like, I'm gonna make a new alt, and then I name them like dumpster juice or whatever. I could never. And I've had like my share of goofy names over the years, but all right. So I'm like suspicious that this guy didn't get a summon, but like he did. Sometimes it's a little hard to tell. Like if people have a long loading screen cuz like they accept and then it disappears off their frame while they're like loading in. All right. So we're going to be gamers here. We're going to eat. Like, again, I think I mentioned this earlier, but food is so important. It's cheap, especially like the mediocre food is cheap. There's no excuse not to buy it and eat. Especially if, like, you want to actually progress. And, okay, so this is another case of me not knowing how to do the pull timer, so I just ask people if they're ready. And in hindsight, it's bad because I know that demon hunters have their meta or whatever that they can pop before, but this is definitely a dungeon where you can't even get to the first mobs very quickly, so it's not as big of a deal, I guess. But now I feel a little bit guilty about it. Don't worry, it's not too much longer, I guess, before I figure out how to do it. I think I had to Google it. I didn't want to type something in chat and it be wrong, you know? Alright, so the first pool of the dungeon determines everything. And look at me getting Mystic Touch up right away. I see some stuns in there. I don't think that this giant guy would be that bad if the pools just didn't appear quite as often. Those pools are really annoying, especially with that volcanic in there. But look how OP a monk is, just being able to roll right over it. So, like, you take, at most, like, 1 tick of damage. Anybody else, like, even a shaman would have to, like, ghost wolf through. You can see, like, how little damage people take here if folks are stunning and interrupting and things like that. I'm stalking this guy, like, waiting to touch of death him. So far, everything is going pretty smooth, and we have good damage. So I'm feeling positive about these folks.
I'm out of range.
Yeah, I do like it when the tank doesn't get dumb and pulls these mobs. I mean, granted, it's probably his plan all along, but like, I've just been in so many groups where people act like it's a normal, and then they try to skip these guys. Like, oh, we'll like burn the boss down so fast it won't matter. And I'm like, that almost never happens the way that you think it will. Alright, so we only pulled one of the two, but It's, in theory, we'll be fine. As long as we move the boss enough. This is definitely a case of, me doing damage because, like, I'm scared. You can see the Plague Belcher getting closer and closer and closer. But the tank does move him.
It's too far away.
I definitely could do better at, like, healing here, but I did try to contribute to DPS for once in my life. So, and it was mostly out of fear that that Plague Belcher was gonna get close. But again, look how OP roll is. You can just roll back in. So easy. I love it. You can also use Revival here to clear that disease off of everybody, but like, honestly, it's depending on the group composition, it's not that big of a deal. Like, everybody in this group has good movement speed. Like, the mage can blink back in. The demon hunter has this little zoomies. Demon hunters always have the zoomies, I guess. And then the warrior can heroic leap back in. So there's like no reason why like the slow matters that much.
I don't have a target.
Don't really want to waste Touch of Death on any of those mobs just because they're kind of weak anyway, and like, because obviously you can see it's off cooldown. I'd rather save Touch of Death for when I'm like scared.
I need to get closer.
Alright, our pie friend here is doing his best. Now, I think this red slime is the one that you can fleshcraft on to get the buff. I'll be honest here, I wasn't paying very much attention to when we had Necrolords in this dungeon or not, because it felt like 90% of the time we didn't have one, and I never like looked specifically for one, because I was like, who even cares? Now I'm kind of like, well, it does, it's not that it doesn't make a difference, like it is nice. It's just not, it doesn't feel as necessary as some of the other like Covenant abilities. And maybe that's just because like I got used to not ever seeing a Necrolord. It feels like the only people that play Necrolord are like PvPers and occasionally Demon Hunters. Also, that disease is brutal that these guys put out. But bet you could invite 2 Rit Paladins and a Windwalker, and you still won't see them do any cleansing, so this is definitely a dungeon where you don't want like full melee comp if you can avoid it. And part of that is like me as well. Like, this is a dungeon where specifically at this part I don't get into melee around those like anything that can put diseases on people. It sounds bad, especially because you can see that I have like a couple of melee in the group who would benefit from Mystic Touch, but like, if I get that disease and so do 2 of my DPS, like, I don't know that I can heal them well enough. Or, I guess to be more accurate, I don't trust that they're gonna use a personal cooldown. Like, maybe they will, but, like, also, maybe they won't. And if they don't, they're kind of dead sometimes. It's like these, tentacles up here, when the plague borers put the disease on you or whatever, and if you get caught in the explosion, it's almost like a surefire death. People still don't pop a personal there. They just stand there and die. And it's like, alright, but I could probably heal through that if you did something to help. Like, if you're a warrior, maybe try using Ignore Pain. Just little things, right? It's better than nothing. At least give it a shot. But, like, usually, nobody does anything. They just sit there. So, to avoid one more person ending up with the disease, I just like to avoid being in melee range. Oops, and then I dummied, and I pulled that other tentacle. I seeded. But luckily my group's paying attention and they noticed that the tentacle was pulled. This isn't really a case of seed saving the group a wipe, but boy, that would have sucked. Because the only person that can res me is the druid, so... This guy is just simply not scary at all. So, like, I guess I didn't save Touch of Death for something scary, but rather something annoying. The dude is really annoying, and I don't know what it is, but he annoys me. Alright, so our tank tried to pull those, like, to the top of the stairs or whatever, which, in my experience, never works that well. I don't know what it is about it. Like, you're almost better off just fighting them on their own platform. Just communicate what your, like, long-term plan is here. Because this is an 8, not a 10. And in a 10, people might just go up the middle and pull the mini-boss first. But in an 8, it doesn't matter.
I'll be happy to demonstrate my research.
Alright, lots of diseases and magic dispels coming out here. Sometimes it's worth dispelling, sometimes it's not. I feel like Detox is just constantly on cooldown in this dungeon. But I can't imagine not having a disease dispel in here and then just having to, like, heal through some of the stuff in this dungeon. So I know I have a friend that's a Mistweaver and she hates this dungeon. Especially the last boss. And I'm like, okay, I hate it too, but, like, as a Mistweaver, it's not too bad. Because, like, at least you have the option to revival, like, one of the Infectious Rain casts. Whereas, like, I mean, if you're a... Whoop, I stood in that. My bad. If you're, like, a shaman or whatever, you don't have that. You just have to heal through whatever it is. Like, obviously, Mistweaver is doing the same thing as everybody else, though. We're kind of reliant on popping cooldowns to get through, like, a hard healing check or whatever, but, like, so is everybody else. Alright, we are literal gods here. I don't really need to drink, but I do drink. Just because, again, you never know where that much extra juice might help.
Now to test this slime on you.
I see this like item here and I don't even know what it is. So like I'm like, well, I'm gonna click on that and then it gives me something and I don't know what it is and I have tooltips turned off in combat so I can't even read it. I've since learned it's for an achievement, but like the worst part about this boss is his jump. You need to pay attention to what direction he's jumping in and then avoid him based off of that. It's just so much easier now that it's not that I didn't know it, but like I wasn't stopping what I was doing to watch him jump, and now that I like pay a little more attention and watch what direction he's jumping in to see where the lines are going to be, because they're always going to be in like a cross, like in front of, behind him, and to the left and the right of his like physical body. So that's why you're paying attention to the direction he's jumping in. And now that I like know to be paying more attention to him, it's easier to avoid that stuff. And I don't know, it's like one of those things where like the higher the key level, the worse that damage gets until it's like really embarrassing. And obviously you don't want to get like one shot by that. It's even more embarrassing if you die to it as the healer. So I don't know. I guess if you're struggling with it, like take a step back and pay attention to him. And the bob went off.
Now to test this slime on you. At least you were useful test subjects.
The cringiest part about this is how far away the last checkpoint is. I absolutely hate how long the walk back is. I mean, it's fine anyway, because, like, if any of the DPS had lived, like, if the mage had lived and been able to invis, it's not like they could have rezzed anyway. So, I guess the smartest thing the tank could have done there is battle res me and then die. Because, with the hope that I wouldn't accept the battle res until after. Because then the boss would despawn and I would have been able to res everybody. Doesn't really save a wipe, but it saves having to run back. But, like, I don't know that I would have even thought about it. So, okay, here we are. We're back. It's not that long of a run back, but it just feels like it is.
You cannot comprehend my genius.
This little dude must have been in combat with us, so that's cool.
Is some flesh.
I like it when they snap to us. I used revival because I guess I was playing it safe.
What this needs is some flesh. Consume.
And we have, like, all kinds of stuff here. I don't know what's going on. I'm just running around like a crazy person. Praying that it's not gonna be, like, a wipe. This would be, like... This is definitely where I should be busting out some serious cooldowns. Using Trinket or whatever I got. Alright, we have a battle res out. Tank was probably holding it, like, to make sure that we didn't wipe again before he used it. Specifically before he used it on the mage.
An
Sometimes you just gotta tell the DPS, like, what to do. But I think nobody needed to be told, like, oh, we didn't kill the bomb. Like, they knew.
What this needs is some flesh. Consume.
Yulan would have been smart to have out. But I think that she's on cooldown. You gotta do what you gotta do to get through the worst of it anyway. I don't know why I, like, healed myself like that. I didn't deserve it. I should say I didn't need it, actually. I was fine. It was the other guy that was pretty low on health. But we've recovered from it. The issue right now is that my mana's pretty low. But we're gonna be okay, because I don't come unprepared. I always jump when the boss lands. I don't know why I do that. It's just, in my mind, I'm like, it's fine. If I'm in the air when he lands, then it won't hit me anyway. Which is not true, I think, but...
What this needs is some flesh. Consume.
I can't even dispel him right away because... stuff's always on cooldown, so I just let it go.
Now to test this slime on you. But I nearly...
Alright, we made it. It was a little bit hectic, but we did make it. Demon Hunter is carrying us hard right here.
At what cost? What vile mixtures now course through your veins? That is the plague's true power. It lingers, festers, destroys everything it touches, even the victor.
So, I was gonna say I was stuck in combat, but then I was like, well, maybe it's not that bad, right? But... Love that for me. Ugh! This is where, like, the frustration is starting to, like, get there. So I get seated, but... And the reason is because, okay, so if you're stuck in combat for, quote, no reason, unquote, especially after a bunch of mobs have been, like, snapped to you already, like, I think you know why you're still in combat. So it feels a little dumb to, like, not be grouped up together where, like, everybody can be paying attention. So, like, they just kind of, like... no one, like... They just kind of abandoned me. Which is like, okay, but I can't drink or anything. But, like, you notice that nobody else mounted up either, and usually that's the go-to. Like, people mount up. Alright. And we move on. Nobody's mean to anybody. Everybody is... Well, I don't want to say nice, but, nobody's, like, getting mad about it or whatever. Not even the people that die. Even though, admittedly, their death is for a stupid reason. And to be clear, like, it's not like I put chill in my key description. Chill Mythic 8. No, I don't do that. Maybe I should try, though, sometime, just to see what happens. Like, do I get more chill players if I do that? This trash does not worry me. The only thing that worries me are the tentacles. and like the fear of accidentally pulling them. And I admit, like, I've never really seen anybody pull these mobs on the side there, like this guy right here, but who am I to tell this tank what to do? He is a pie in the box. He do what he want, and we follow, because if we wanted to do what we want, we would be playing a tank, right? And I'm a coward, so I don't play a tank. I'll be honest with you, by the way, I miss playing Mistweaver when I'm on like half of the classes that I play, just because I can't immediately bust the stealth links out. And Spinning Crane Kick is so good for that. And for many other things, but it's really good for that. Alright, so like, my healing there was definitely one of those things where like I put renewing and enveloping on the mage and then also vivified them. I shouldn't have bothered to vivify them. The 2 hots would have carried them to full health. It was a waste of mana. But see, having done it long enough, in my brain, I am proving to myself that I've learned a couple of things. Not that I'm always going to play well now. Hell no. I suck. I mean, I still suck. But I've learned, and I think seeing where you're at and like where you can improve helps a lot. I can also actually leg sweep those stealthlings, and then that stops their ambush cast or whatever, but things that you learn. I only bother to leg sweep the stealthlings if like I'm desperate though. Like I have to be desperate. And by that I mean I have to feel like the group is like straight up not gonna help me. I have one friend helping. I'll take it. People tend to ignore the stealthlings sometimes, not realizing how much damage they do if they do ambush one player. Again, Touch of Death. Touch of Death is such a strong cooldown. I mean, maybe not so much on bosses necessarily, but on trash it's really strong, so I could... And let's be honest here, is trash not the more, like, the scarier of the two between trash and bosses? Like, I definitely dread trash pulls, like, way more than I dread boss pulls in the game right now. I don't know how common of a feeling that is, but that's personally how I feel. Like, at first I dreaded this boss, like, a long time ago. But after having done it for a while, I don't think it's that bad.
No target has escaped me.
I mean, it's not that bad if people do it correctly.
My blades will rend your flesh. Fear the dagger in the dark.
That was a failed Ring of Peace, so don't look at that. This is definitely the kind of dungeon where, like, a good group that's using their, like, interrupts and stuns and cooldowns appropriately is, like, it makes this whole dungeon just feel so much better.
Your demise comes from the shadows. My blades will rend your flesh.
Spinning Crane Kick, OP.
No target has escaped me.
Alright, so I did actually get So like something that I like to kind of do is start casting Soothing Mist on somebody before I get stunned. And what that does is my statue continues to like cast it on whoever it is. So at least while I'm stunned for a couple seconds, somebody's still getting a little bit of healing. I'm not always successful at this endeavor, but it is a nice idea to try. Alright, so we still got about 9 minutes on the timer.
Seeks that which cannot be controlled. If you so desire this power, then come and claim it, or let it claim you.
Percentage in this dungeon is definitely something I never learned. I probably should have, but no, I definitely didn't ever look up percentage here. But for some reason, I know the percentage for, like, leaving Ardenweald or whatever if you go at first on a +10. I just saw it, like, one time, and then I knew. I, like, memorized it on accident. It happens sometimes. We don't always get to choose what our brain, like, remembers. That was another failed Ring of Peace. I kind of wanted to just push him into everything else. But I just sent him flying in random directions. Again, this boss isn't, or mini-boss, I guess, isn't scary. He's just annoying.
Keepers of Rot, heed my call. The mother of plagues
Like, is he scary on any difficulty? Alright. We got 7 minutes and 20 seconds to beat the boss. Plenty of time, as long as we don't die. I'm already making a fatal mistake of not putting Mystic Touch up. Also, I love that I heard for, like, the first part of the patch, like, my house weeps with blood. That's what I heard for the longest time. According to Reddit, I'm not the only one that thought that, but, like, cringe. Alright, we got a second Infectious Rain there, but, like, it was just one, I think, like, one stack, so it didn't hurt too bad. My goal here is mostly just, like, don't fall behind in healing, because that's the worst. And we got our time warp.
It's too far away.
And again, we pay attention to the age-old saying in this dungeon, pay attention to tentacles or you'll die. I dispelled one person. So, the idea here is, of course, like always, pay attention to the tentacles because they tend to be a one-shot mechanic, and you can't do any damage or healing or whatever if you're dead. And I have a cheat death, but, like, I would love to not proc it. Like, you can see our poor warrior, like, got obliterated. I'm trying to get Essence Font and Renewing Mists up. So, specifically so I could revival and it be, like, a powerful cooldown. I try to save revival for the last Infectious Rain that I think we're gonna get, so for the third. Ooh, I didn't mean to stand in that. That was a mistake. That was close, because I don't actually know that I wouldn't have gotten killed by that. So we upgraded by a +1. That's not terrible. And it's 77 score for us, so that's pretty good. Unfortunately, the gear that I get is wrists again, and that's, of course, where my legendary is. So that's not cool. But beggars can't be choosers and all of that stuff. So we'll take it. It wasn't the best group, it wasn't flawless, but we still got it. We still got through it. And for that, I am very grateful. I was trying to kind of see if anybody else wanted the wrists, but
I can't use that.
apparently not. And then the mage left, so I can't even use the portal. That's what I get for asking questions. And they said, nah, they don't want it. So, you never know. It feels bad to have something, like, if anybody could use it, like, even for an off-spec or whatever, so. It's fine. Everything's good. I got a new soul that I don't intend to use. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess depending on how you look at it, I don't think we got anything for either bingo in that dungeon, so let's move on and apply to other groups and see what we can get into. The next mythic that we do is going to be our 20th mythic plus, by the way, so we're moving along, and it's not fast, like we're not going quickly, but you can see I'm getting a little bit braver. I am applying to some keys that I would normally be a little bit hesitant to apply to, but like, here's the thing: the first +10 that you do is kind of like a game changer, and it's hard to get into a +10 until you've done a +10. So I kind of have that problem, but it's okay. We're just going to chill, and you can see that I have plenty of keys that I could push a little bit higher, but not that many. Like, it's still Tyrannical Week, and there's a few that I could push a bit higher that are a little bit low, but there's not that many. So we gotta clear all these adverts out of the group finder so I can actually see the real groups that are there. Like, I know I joked about, like, procrastinating by doing that, but, like, also they take up a lot of space and they clutter things up. So I, like, hesitate to apply to this 9 spires because, one, I hate spires and I don't think I'm very good at it, and two, their IO is not that high, and neither is mine. So I feel like it's a group that if they're looking for a carry, I can't carry them. I have a 9 Necrotic Wake as well, so I don't know why I joined a 9, except that maybe see, and I would say my intention would be to like re-roll the key at the end, but I don't think I was that smart yet, so this tank isn't picky at all because he invited me. We're gonna try this 9 Necrotic Wake here and see how it goes. Alright, so our tank has assembled our team for us, so we didn't have to worry about it. And now we're gonna do this 9 Necrotic Wake, and we're gonna trust him. We're gonna trust in him. We have full faith in our team here. I would have totally had more videos out this week than what I did, but I'll be honest with you, I thought, well, after taking the cat to the vet, it would be like, you know, super chill week ahead of me, but it wasn't, because even though pilling went very well the first couple of days, she has now resorted to gnashing her teeth when I tried to give her a pill. So I also think she's not really drinking water, which is extra bad because it's a bladder infection. And it may even be bladder stones by now, which is awful because she's had bladder stones before and we've had to have surgery to fix that problem. So, I'm a little bit worried and anxious about that because, you know, she's an elderly cat, so the older they get, the less viable surgery becomes as an option. But the last time we tried to give her a special food to get rid of the bladder stones, she just wouldn't eat it at all. Which is, you know, bad actually. Since the first time she had stones, the food did end up fixing it. But then a few years later, she got them again. We had to have surgery, and it's been another couple of years. So I would not be surprised if she had stones again. And, yeah, so I've been stressing out, especially in the morning when I have to pill her. I have to pill her twice a day, at 6 in the morning and 6 in the evening. And I'm actually off work until Monday or through Monday. So the pills will be over Monday morning. Thank God, because I can't just sit at home and, you know, wait for her to decide to show up. She hides under the bed. Like, I'd have to chase her out. I spend my whole morning like doing that instead of going to work. So luckily I'm the supervisor of my department at work. So it's not like it would be the end of the world if I was a little bit late, but I would like to not lose hours. But yeah, I've been stressing out about this cat. Tiny is wonderful, but she's struggling and she's the only of my original cats left. I when I moved to where I live currently, I had two cats, Cece and Tiny. Cece I had for many years, and unfortunately she passed away a couple of years ago. She's actually the white cat in the icon, in my like user avatar or whatever. Um, she was like the perfect cat, so I was really sad to lose her, and hopefully, you know, Tiny doesn't follow too close after. She's looking at me right now. Hi, baby. Yeah. She doesn't trust me because I pilled her this morning. But anyway, yeah, so I had two cats and my husband had two cats, and then we got cats together to form our, like, total of 8, right? So, they're all getting old, though. All of the original cats are getting old. This boss is getting more and more hectic as we go here. I'll be honest though, with this boss, it's like, who cares how he gets dead, so long as he dies. Our arcane mage here is like struggling a little bit with mana, as you do when you're arcane. But they're like also like way out DPSing everybody else. And I ended the fight with like some mana left. It just would have been a better fight if everybody would have had their orb. Oh, the mage has like a pretty high score, so. Alright. Onward. I would argue that the next section of the dungeon is probably the worst. I love getting incapacitated, like to death. I mean, I appreciate the lay on hands, but like, I'm seated. 'Cause y'all didn't interrupt. Or stun. Look at me being a know-it-all. And the reason I'm saying this is because the next time I will die. My cheat death has been procced. I don't think that that helped a whole lot, but I did my best, okay? My Ring of Peace placement is weak, even on a good day, and on a bad day, it's probably on the ceiling. The target reticules or whatever are just wild in this game sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. Okay, we got our tank doing some interrupts here. And everybody's actually doing interrupts. No orbs for us. At least the mage picked up that orb. You would be shocked at how many people just skip it. It's like they forget about it. I just stood in the cleave. And then stood in the volcanic. Me trying to save the mage's life above everybody because they're the better player. Alright, and I like just blew through my mana to heal that. So naturally just sat down and drank immediately. And then stood in bad. The key with standing in bad, by the way, is that, like, it's gonna happen. Like, sometimes you're gonna make a mistake and you're gonna stand in something bad. But the key is that when you stand in bad, you don't let it, like, get you too flustered. Because sometimes you're like, oh, I stood in something bad. Oh my god, I'm the worst. I'm awful. I'm terrible at this game. Ah, and then the next thing you know, you've stood in like 5 more bad things because you were like panicking because you did it once. So like, don't let it get to you. Just be like, all right, we'll do better next time. Our tank like DC'd there for like a hot second. Whenever anybody DCs, it always makes you worry, like, because you have no way of knowing if they're going to come back. If it's a DPS, it's usually not a big deal, because, like, you can probably, like, get through the dungeon, but... It's like, normally I wouldn't mark these, but, like... I feel like having a primary target for people to focus on is good. Especially when you've only got like 2 of the 4 people interrupting regularly. And I'm not gonna get in melee on these guys because I might go stand in the cleave on accident. And we don't want that.
Face me, Necromancer. Thanatos will be avenged.
Are you so eager to share your underling's fate? Your vaunted courage will be your doom.
Alright.
Your temple lies in
We're getting there. We're getting there. I still have faith in my team.
you have already
But after the first boss, it's like maybe a little bit less faith. I shouldn't even say the first boss. After the first boss was a little spicy, and then the pull after the first boss, like, procced my cheat death because nobody interrupted the drain fluids. That's My faith has been slightly shaken, but like I still have faith that this is doable. It's not like I think we're gonna lose. It's just that I kind of know that like I might have to do a little extra, you know what I mean? We got our gamers picking up spears and stuff here. Thank goodness. Unless things get really spicy, I tend to like to hold on to whatever weapon I pick up for the last boss. Because in my experience, people tend to just use them. Sometimes even on this pool, which I hate. Especially at this key level. Like, don't waste a weapon on this guy. He's easy. I mean, sometimes the healing can be pretty intense, but it is just a few seconds of healing.
Brought to justice.
Alright, so the mage is letting us know that we're short percentage.
Then I shall answer in kind.
Just pull that pack.
Paragon,
Easy.
there is nothing you can do to stop us.
Just pull it. Who cares? Who cares? Alright, there we go. We got one guy. I know people don't like to pull this guy because he's like really annoying. I never remember what the percentage is to go up. This is why I'm not a tank, actually.
I need to get closer.
That might do it. Alright. We're gonna trust in our group. We're gonna trust our group knows what they're doing. I have no clue what the percentage is.
My minions are endless.
We can see that somebody has gathered the orb.
My soldiers rise.
I was checking though, because I wasn't sure. Sometimes people like to use the orb here on these guys. I prefer to save it for the group, or the pulls up top, just because they tend to be big on accident or like really rough.
With sacrifice comes victory.
Pay no mind to me spinning crane kicking randomly though. That's 100% what that is that renewing mists is wheel down over the unit frames and spinning crane kick is wheel down off of the unit frames, and they just weren't being recognized.
Will reduce you to dust. With sacrifice comes victory.
Things are getting a little spicy here, but we're not scared yet.
The fallen shall serve me again.
So much for my CC.
Will reduce you.
I could definitely revival here. It would be smart.
You
prove timely, yet the battle rages on.
Immediately
We
drink, because the
cannot
angels are
rest until
coming.
these invaders are purged from our skies.
Now I could wait and
Lead the effort here, while my
take the
descendants
angel
bring
after
to
I
the
got to full
necropolis.
health, but
Let
like
us end
honestly it's not worth the headache of maybe arriving after they pull, so I just sit and drink immediately.
Prepare to strike at
Not that anybody checks my mana before they pull, but I know a lot of tanks have this, like, well, if you're at least 25%, it's fine to pull. But it's like, alright, so you pull that group at 25 and it's fine, but now you got 2 more groups that are coming close that we're probably gonna get pulled. So your 25% roll isn't effective all the time. We have the use of an orb. I pulled Yulon out, even though, like, I'm not using it correctly. There we go, now I'm using her better. What I wouldn't do for an interrupt. Like, of my own, I mean. Alright, refresh, renewing, and sit. The classic play. This room is definitely always just so hit or miss. And I think it comes up to, like, are people going to kill the drain fluids gore splatter guy? Like, are they going to interrupt that or not? And if they do, it's easy mode. If they don't, then it sucks. It's kind of wild how, like, a couple of interrupts, like, make or break the whole room. But that's why when I'm on a character that can interrupt, I do a lot of interrupting. Probably didn't need to move my statue. You know it has, like, a really long range, but better safe than sorry. Woohoo, I remembered Mystic Touch again. It's like I forgot about it there for a little while.
Come, my assistant. These raw materials are in need of processing.
Alright, drink. You can see how much self-healing the tank is doing, too. Like, he's doing his best. Finally, I didn't fail that mechanic. We got an interrupt. Ouch.
Incompetent oafs. Gorgrine.
And again, I don't really need to drink. Like, I don't need to drink, but, like, I have a free stack of mage food. So, like, me sitting for a couple of seconds to, like, top off, there's no harm in it. You might as well. The newer you are to healing, the more likely it is that you need to do that. Just because it lets you be more wasteful with your mana if you need to be. Granted, not every healer can be super wasteful with their mana, but Mistweavers sure as heck can be. In fact, they are by default. One thing I will say about this dungeon is that I do think the voice acting is like super iconic in here. Like, I mean, granted, it's also super loud. And that's with me, like, turning down what you guys are hearing by a lot. I think it's like a -10 or something. But it is iconic. I don't, like, get mad hearing it, you know what I mean? I would argue that I think they've done a pretty good job, this expansion specifically. I don't know, I didn't do enough dungeons in BFA to say. But of making, like, voice lines iconic and very indicative of what is happening in the fight. So, like, depending on what the boss is, like, you pretty much know what mechanic is going on. I mean, obviously, you can, like, play with sound off, but it still has the stuff in the chat box. And maybe he even has a, like, one of those little talking head boxes, but I've turned those off because I can't stand them. All they do is take up space on my screen and add nothing to the game.
Impressive ears. Oh, those are so hard to find.
But we're doing pretty good. This mage, though.
My constructs can
Knowing what I know now, I could have definitely had it over there in time.
be proud of this one.
So close and yet so far.
No! That one was my favorite. I must preserve your parts for later. Imbecile! I'm the one who made you!
Alright, here we go. We can get him this time.
Simple in construction, but vast in potential.
There's not a whole lot to talk about because we've been in here like multiple times.
My constructs can handle you on their own.
Again, I failed that simple simple mechanic. By which I mean, like, if you know it's coming, you can hook the boss back down immediately.
I must preserve your parts for later. Have you no respect for craftsmanship? Imbecile! I'm the one who made you!
My mana is low.
I'm struggling, but luckily he dies.
My greatest was yet
Not enough mana.
come.
I need more mana.
Yeah, we weren't good on percent. I was suspicious because the mage said that they thought it would be like the 3-pack, and then we pulled the one big guy and they were like, well, maybe that's good enough. And I was like, no way. Let me drink! Unfortunately, it's not gonna let me drink, so I pop a mana pot.
It's too far away.
None can escape the storm.
Nobody wants to get out of the way, I guess.
Had enough of you.
Luckily, this fight isn't too healing intensive. I broke the barrier. I'm a god, basically. My timing, that was totally on accident, by the way, but... Our mage is popping off, like, doing way more damage than the next highest person.
Had enough of you.
And I'm actually relieved that they're not getting, like, sent out.
The storm.
Alright.
None
Some people aren't really good at remembering or like paying attention to the frozen binds thing. Luckily, as a monk, I have options. Don't stand in that, dude. Alright. And we got it. We just gotta get our percent that we're missing.
You have my attention.
It sucks to have to go back down here to get the rest of the percent, but honestly, it's really easy because there's just like so many options to pull down here. We got an interrupt. Love to see it. Two interrupts even. We're thriving. Still need percent. Alright. We plus 2'd it even. We missed our percentage, and we still plus 2'd it. Also, you'll see that I hold on to this Korthia Awaits quest for like 100 years. I am addicted to Korthia Awaits. I'm addicted to not going to Korthia. I hate Korthia. It's so boring. Did it on my main, never wanted to touch it on alts. Also, my favorite feature about these Mythic Plus dungeons is that once you clear your trash percentage at the end, you don't have, like, you can just walk through the trash. That's pretty nice. Definitely something they didn't have to do. They could have, like, made it extra annoying, but they chose not to, so that's kind of neat. So we're gonna go up here, we're gonna see if we got anything cool. I mean, probably not, but you never know. Ooh, and we got some shoulders. So that's good. Yay. Thanks, everybody. Look at how friendly I'm being. Like, no, I try to be friendly. Like, everybody was nice enough. Nobody got fussy, even when things are a little not great. So, we're happy with it. And the shoulders are an upgrade, so that's awesome. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. So until next time, I hope you guys do well for yourselves, and I will see you again soon. Happy healing!